So the reason I'm agreed is simply because I asked, "Ein Besav in the Godel." Avi's going to say he's not a Godel. Avi's going to say he's not a Godel. So I have to tell you, Avi, recently in the last 3-4 years, the Rav Yosef has greatly enhanced my vision, perspective, whichever you want to call it. And there's a famous Chavetz Chaim was once explaining to somebody that on the Rav Yosef's map, it's completely different than a regular person's map. And the Chavetz Chaim explained, on the map of the world, Russia is very, 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 very big. And Radin, the place of the Chavetz Chaim, the city of the Chavetz Chaim, where he had his yeshiva, is very, 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 very small. And he said on the Rav Yosef's map, Russia is very, very, very small, and Radin is very, very, very big. And the Gemara says very clearly that in this world, Olam Hafuch, people that seem to be very, very up there and very, very big, and people who seem to be very, very small, in fact, it's the other way around. And Avi, the more you try to hide yourself, the more you try to make yourself small, it's really, it's not working. It's not working. We can see, and we admire, and we learn, and we thank you, and we're very thankful that we had the opportunity to be your friend, and to learn from you and be around you. So it's a big schus to eat by a Seuda's Yahrzeit. I was once by a chasana, and there was talking going on. And the rabbi was speaking, he said, Rabbi, I have one request from everybody, please. Eat. A Seuda's Yahrzeit of a tzaddik is in actual fact a way of connecting to the tzaddik. We know the Gemara says, tzaddikim b'misosam kruim chayim. A tzaddik in his afterlife is actually called still alive. And in fact, in two ways, it's even greater than when he was alive. Number one, he's not anymore restricted to his physical body. And second of all, we enable, through talking about the tzaddik, through learning from his actions, and through learning his Torah, we benefit the tzaddik who can no longer help himself. And via that, the tzaddik has a koras hatoiv, and we create a kesher, a connection, a spiritual connection to the tzaddik. The Ma'or Einayim, Shlomo Magid, he says that when a person learns the Torah of a tzaddik, it's as if he davened on his kever. And a person creates a spiritual connection to the tzaddik, and he says with a Seuda, it's not just that we tell over stories, that it says, learning from a tzaddik's actions is greater than learning Torah from him. But we have a hand of them, and especially tzaddikim like the Bas Ayin, which want zoicha to have children, and therefore, really they count and depend on us, simple beings, to help them go higher in the Olamis Anyonis. The reason why Shimon Spitzer brought down once at a Seuda's Yahrzeit of the Bas Ayin, the reason why, he says it's a story that the Bas Ayin was a Talmud of the Kedushas Levi. And when he was young, he once heard a person, Odom Gadol, but still, he heard him being Mevaza, the Kedushas Levi. And with Yantze Koyach, he went and he was Moicha against the Adam God. The Adam God told him, I warn you, if you continue being moiche next to me, it's going to cost you your children. And even still, he took upon the decision that for the covet of his Rebbe, he's not going to back down, and he continued the machor, and the result was that the Taka didn't have children. So somebody who doesn't leave afterwards, Zerah, his Torah is a Zerah, and his actions, his maisim, his midas, his anhaga, the way of his character, the way he was, the things that he worked on, this is his legacy, this is what he left after him, and this is what we can learn from and help him go higher in the Oimes Alyonis. The Bas Ayin used to say over a story that the Ramotchet Shnobler was once walking on the street with his Hasidim, and a person came over to him and asked him if he could be the sandik by his son's bris. So he told him, are you making a Sudas mitzvah afterwards? So he said, he can't, he's a poor man, he can't afford the Sudas mitzvah. So Ramotchet Shnobler said, if there's no Sudas mitzvah, he can't be sandik. So the man says, hey, was the Latin. She said, what do you do? She said, he's a melamed. Vice knows that it's a minute not to pay melamdim well, but he said, go to the balabot, the people who pay you, and tell them that you need akdama, you need a upfront payment for the next couple of months maybe. Like this, you could pay a suda, we'll go half. I'll pay your suda, I'll pay half the suda, says Ramotchet Shnobler, and you pay half the suda. The Bas Ayin adds, and he says the reason is, so the Ramotchet Shnobler says, he says that the Yetzer Hara tries to stop Yidden making Sudas mitzvah. He said, we know that one of the names of the Yetzer Hara is Samach Mem Aleph Lamed, and the Rosh Tevis is Siyum Meseches Sudas, Siyum Meseches Ein Nases. Why Siyum Meseches Ein Nases? Because of the Suda which they'll make, the Simcha Shel Torah, like it says in the Gemara Abaya, used to rejoice mamish with the learned Torah. Used to finish a Masechta, a gross Suda, a big Suda, and the rejoicing was tremendous. So the Bas Ayin adds, he says the reason is because once the Sultan met the Malach Gavriel, and we know Malach Gavriel is the Sanego, the defender of Klal Yisrael, and he told him about his great Hatzlacha and how he's managing to trip up Klal Yisrael and be machshulim in Averos and cause them to do Averos. He said, maybe you think you're having Hatzlacha on that front, but have you ever seen a Yid making a Suda to rejoice on the Avera that he's done? No, you haven't. But look at the Sudas that the Yidden make, a rejoicing for a mitzvah that they've done. Whether it's a Sudas Bris, whether it's a Sudas Bar Mitzvah, Sudas Chasana. These are mitzvahs that the Yidden do, and they take tremendous enjoyment and rejoice tremendously through the Suda about the mitzvah. And he said, through this you'll never be able to defeat Klal Yisrael, and he won over the Yetzer Hara in that particular aspect at that time. There's a famous, it's not known, but the Bas Ayin used to make a Sudas Rosh Chodesh or Rosh Chodesh Av. I don't know why, but a person who, Chok v'lo yavar, he never missed one of his Sudas. And when he was Nifta in Shomayim, he told Bezin Shomalo, just like he didn't miss a Suda when he was alive, it's only right that he doesn't miss a Suda even Achamoisai. And they allowed him to go down, and the Bas Ayin saw the Neshama came down to this Suda. He was able to give him a tikkun mole, he was able to be misakin his Neshama in the best way, and this person was able to go straight to Gan Eden, and we see the koyach again of a Suda's mitzvah. One time, the Bas Ayin didn't regularly go to the Sudas of Bris, but he went to the Shlishi Lemila. One time, a particular child came from Ukraine. The Savrana told him to go to his parents to go to Etzisol, and he was elderly. His father was an elderly man, and when he had this child, and by the Sudas Bris, by this one, the Bas Ayin came to rejoice with the family, and he drank a tremendous amount until they had to carry him out. Or a little while later, not so much later, an hour later, they realized that the blood was still running by the child, and if they wouldn't be able to stop it, then the child would pass away. And they went running to the house of Bas Ayin, and they saw that he wasn't by his place sitting and learning, but they saw that his Gemara was open to the back, to the Rav Yosef or the Ran, whichever it was, right? The Rif, and there was on the Rif, the Medafia Rif. When he came back to his place, he said, they told him what happened, and he said he just now there was a machlokes, the Balamoyer in the Rif, right? And he had the pshat, which would make that the Rif and the Balamoyer are not being choylek, and for that, the Rishonim in Shomayim have a Korah Satoiv. This Korah Satoiv he gives over to the child. And the moment he said that, the blood stopped, and the child was saved. This is the Korach of the Basai. The most famous story, perhaps, of the Bas Ayin was the earthquake in Tzfas, the massive earthquake which a third of Tzfas lost their lives, and he was mismanaged together with his mispalim, and he started, the earthquake started, and he told everybody to go to one side of the mismedrash. And on that side of the mismedrash, everybody was saved, and Rabbi Biderman brings down always is that the Bas Ayin realized that the stones were not falling downwards, they were falling sideways. And he realized this is Mamash and Maisa Sotin Belvad, this is absolutely only the actions of the Yetzer Hara. And he said the only way to counteract the Yetzer Hara in this case is absolute Hisbatlus, and he threw himself to the ground in tremendous Hisbatlus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Besides that, we know that one of the major midas, the character traits on which the Bas Ayin worked consistently his whole life on, was the midah of Anova and his battles, and to fight the Yetzer Hara and to fight a Kitrugim. If there's heavenly decrees, the only way is with absolute his battles. Reb Shmuel Heller, which was his Talmud, living in Tzfas at that time, I think he became the Rav of Tzfas after the Bas Ayin was niftar. He was a doctor, and he was a doctor for the Jewish people, for the non-Jewish people, and in places that he wasn't able to learn Torah, perhaps he was in waiting rooms or in the houses of the non-Jewish people, and there were things there which, for which reasons he wasn't able to learn, he would study his medical textbooks. And it got to a point that during davening and during learning, he would the text would come and would bother him, his davening and learning. And he davened to Hashem to take it away, and he fasted, didn't help nothing. And he once went to his Rebbe, the Bas Ayin, and he poured out his heart, and he told her how his Rebbe, he has all these thoughts during davening and learning, and it's disturbing him. And the Bas Ayin simply took out his handkerchief, he rubbed his forehead, and from then on, he never had the machshava again, which disturbed him during davening. And for this, we see the absolute greatness of the Bas Ayin. Another story of his Talmud, Reb Shmuel Heller was an Erev Kippur. He was once called by one of the big sheikhs in the area, and even though it was Erev Kippur, he wasn't able to say no. It would have been Chil Hashem. So, Beles Breira, without any other options, he went to go check on the sheikh, and by the time he came back, he realized he wouldn't have time for a Sudas Mafsekes and for a mikveh, so he decided he's going to go to mikveh. On the way to mikveh, he met the Bas Ayin. The Bas Ayin asked him why he's hurrying, and he told him what happened. He said, no. He took him home to his house, and he gave him a Suda, and he told him he has to have a Suda. And Shmuel Heller said, whatever he thinks maybe the mikveh would have done, he said that Yom Kippur, he never had such a salas, such an elevation like that Yom Kippur. The Kedusha of the food of the Bas Ayin elevated him so high that he never had such a tremendous Yom Kippur. These are the stories which one can learn from the greatness of the Bas Ayin, especially his humility. But to learn a little bit of his Torah, so that we can be spiritually connected to the Bas Ayin. As I saw this week in the Remelech brought down, he says that one of the tzaddikim touched the pasuk, Baruch ato b'vayecha, Baruch ato b'tzisecha. Blessed are you when you come in, and blessed are you when you go out. He says, when is it going to be Baruch ato b'tzisecha, when it's Baruch ato b'vayecha? What does it mean? He says, when you come to the tzaddik, b'vayecha, when you come to the tzaddik, and you believe wholeheartedly that the koyach of the tzaddik can help you, then Baruch ato b'tzisecha, for sure the koyach of the tzaddik will help you when you go out. Right? So one has to know that with Iti, there was one of the stories that Malach Bidman brings down is that there was a kutza of 15 bachim. All of them elder bachim. Maybe in Chassidish circles there were already 20. I don't know. But they were all older. And they desperately wanted to get married. And Fifth, if they made the Suda together, one of them, what's the Suda going to do? 14 of the 15 got engaged within the next few months. And just this one wasn't Baruch Ata B'Vayecha, wasn't Baruch Ata B'Mitzisecha. And realizing his mistake, he asked them to be mefarshim the story so people should get a chizuk, and a chizuk in emunah's chachamim, in emunah's tzaddikim, that if you believe in the koyach of the tzaddik is a koyach to poil, to grant a person's salvations through beseeching the Rebbeinu Shalom in the upper worlds. To learn his Torah, there's a shtickle that was printed this week. Hishtadfus and Tsar brings the Geula. When a person is noisa ba'oil, a person carries his friend's Tsar in his heart, he hastens the Geula. And he brings down a beautiful, he says that the Yidden were Mitzrayim. We know that the entire amount of time that the Jewish people were supposed to be in Mitzrayim was 430 years. Physically in Mitzrayim, they were only there 210 years, and the Avodah they only did 86. But he said that there was, when we look, that there was achdus between Klal Yisrael. There was unity between Klal Yisrael. We see that it says, B'shivim nefesh yordu Mitzrayim. They were so close that they were considered as one nefesh. Yeah? There's somebody in the room, he always tells me, I wasn't close to him like this, I was close to him like this. Right? So the Yidden, they were very close to each other, not like this, not two separate entities, but they were one separate entity. And therefore he says that the tsar of which they saw, the pain and suffering, which one person saw his friend going through, was more than their own suffering. He said, if so, then you have 210 multiplied, but not just by his suffering, but by his friend's suffering also, which makes 420. He said, you have the 9 years of which Yosef was there before they came down to Mitzrayim. It's 429. And he said, the nefesh, the achdus, the koilel, of which the unity of which they were so together represents another one. 429 and 1, if there's any mathematical geniuses over here, will know that the answer comes to 430. Rabbi Baruch, yes, 430. And that is the amount of time that the Yidden had to spend in Mitzrayim. And we see how being noisa ba'oil, carrying the suffering of a friend, hastened the Geula, brought the Geula double as quick. And if you know the gematria of Nefesh, it's 430. Right? Now, one of the big scholars, Be'etzem, it says it in the Gemara in Brachas, they said that our tefillah that we daven, which means Shemona Esra, was created in a plural form. Everything we ask for Hashem is we ask in the plural form. We ask in the plural form because when we ask for ourselves, we're not just asking for ourselves, but we're asking for everyone in Klal Yisrael. That was the original takana, that was what the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, when they created the wording of the Shemona Esrei, that's what they intended, that a person should daven not just for himself, but ba'adoy u'ba'ad kol kahal. He should daven for himself and for all the community and the whole of Klal Yisrael. When a person says in the morning, as it says in the Sidurim, Hareini mekabel alai, mitzvah zasei after recha kamoicha, he now creates that his davening, his tefillas, his prayers are not just for him, but also for his friends. And through that, he turns all his tefillas, all his prayers, and all his bakashas into a tefillas harabim, and that gives it the koyach, that gives it the possibility for it to be accepted, as it says that the tefillas harabim, a tefillah of the many, is never turned away. B'schus the Heilige Reb Avram Doiv ben Reb David, it should be a meditation for our dear friend Reb Avram Nosson, and everyone here who is mishtatev in the Suda, whether they were mishtatev because they paid for it, or whether they were mishtatev by being here and eating and listening to the words of Torah, and they got a chizuk for the greatness of the Basai. It should be a meditation, and everyone should have the issues that they need, Bekarev and Mamish, or as they say in Lubavitch, Tekev umiyad Mamish.